Hello, YouTube. It is Simone75. It is Sunday, and I was supposed to upload a video yesterday, but something happened and I got really nauseous and kind of pukey ill, so I didn't end up doing the video. But I'm doing it tonight, and I'll have this uploaded shortly after I get done with the video. But anyway, one of my friends from Facebook and YouTube in the weight loss surgery community, Michael May, had mentioned he was going to do a video on how he ended up becoming overweight. And it got me thinking, and I thought, that'd be a really cool idea for a video, because a lot of times, especially within the weight loss surgery community, you don't, or I don't anyway, maybe it's just me, I don't see a lot of videos on how we ended up the way that we were, aka overweight, obese, fat, whatever label you want to put on it. There's not a whole lot of videos to actually put out there what happened to make us overeat and become overweight. So I, messaged him and asked him, did he think it was okay if I did a video also on the same subject? And he was, he was fine with it. So that's the topic of this video. How did I become overweight in the first place? And, I think about a lot of the videos I've done, and there are some negative videos as far as the things that I talk about in them are not pleasant. And this isn't going to be a pleasant video either, because when you become an overeater, it can be, maybe you just like food. Maybe you're lazy, or, and I'm not saying that anybody in the weight loss surgery community is lazy, but there are people out there. And I know a person in particular in my own family that blames her weight on her thyroid while ignoring the 6 plates she has in front of her of junk food. So, there's various reasons why people become overweight, but this is not about them. This is about me. And some people do it because food becomes a comfort to them. They eat out of negative emotions and negative feelings, and that I can't pinpoint anything that started it. All I can do is go on what I remember from my past. Now, and even that in itself is a little difficult, because I actually don't remember a lot of my past anymore. I don't know why. I don't know if my mind is blocking it out. I don't know if I'm choosing not to remember it anymore. It no longer serves a positive purpose in my life to have those memories, and I honestly don't. I know what happened, but as far as the memories itself, it used to be, I could see it playing over and over in my mind like a bad movie. And that's not the case anymore. It's just not there. But what I can tell you is the things that I just know what happened. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it in a video. I'm not sure if I put this on Facebook. I don't know if this is something I have ever divulged to anybody, but I went through quite a bit of abuse at the hands of my mother and one of my brothers, and I had some experience with being sexually molested as I grew up, from the age of being, before I could really even carry that memory over, or maybe it was just so bad that my mind blocked it out, because I really didn't remember the abuse until I was about 14. And that was just an experience in itself, because when the memories came flooding back, it was quite horrific for me and took a toll on me. Because then all of a sudden I remembered everything that happened to me. And the only thing I can't remember is who did it. I can't see the person's face. It's like when I think about it and I have those memories surface, I can tell you everything the person did, but I cannot see their face. I can see their body. I can see their hair, hairstyle, body shape, height, the room that it was in, what they did. But the face is just, I mean, it's like this. There's nothing. It's blank. There's no eyes, no nose, nothing. The few memories that I do have, my family likes to tell me that, no, this person couldn't have possibly done that to you. And my question to them is always, why do I remember it that way? It's just scary that somebody could do that to their own family member at such a young age. I mean, I'm talking 2-3 years old. But anyway, it's not really about the abuse itself. And then, my mother was very physically abusive towards me. Up until I was 13, I don't remember when the abuse started. I know I was very young. I was probably 5-6 years old that I started remembering things. And the only reason it stopped when I was 13 was because she put me in state custody. So I don't, after that, nobody ever, aside from other kids, you get into fights in school. But as far as like my family itself, they never had a chance to put their hands on me after that. Certainly I've had boyfriends do it, and after a while I got to where I fought back. But I'm kind of getting sidetracked here on what the video was about. But those were the kind of things that I went through growing up. I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have a lot of affection. There wasn't a lot of love in my family. So I grew up not having things that children need. They need a loving parent to protect them. They need, their siblings should care about them and love them. And that's just not what I grew up with. As sad as that is, I mean, that's just, it is what it is. That's my life. And somewhere along that way, my brain decided that eating was the thing to do. And not to get into my entire childhood with my mother, but, I grew up with a mother who was constantly telling me things that no child should ever hear. Like, no, you can't go play at the neighbor's house because somebody's going to kidnap you and murder you and leave you in an orange grove dead. And I mean, that's a horrible thing for a child to grow up and hear and constantly have in their head. So I didn't go outside a lot. I had neighbors that when the parents were home, we were allowed to go out and, play as long as my mom was home and their parents were home. That was fine. But that was as far as I went. Or maybe I rode my bike around the block, but that was, about it. And somewhere, I can't pinpoint when, I can't pinpoint how this developed in my own head, but I became an overeater. And although my mom didn't buy a lot of the junk food, like cereal and things, we had the healthier cereals for you, like Rice Krispies and Corn Flakes and Cheerios. And I think the probably junkiest cereal we had would be Honey Nut Cheerios. But then my grandmother, she bought all the stuff that grandmothers do. She was an awesome person. Matter of fact, I shouldn't say that I didn't grow up with love. I had my grandmother, who was a very loving woman. She disciplined me the right way. She never abused me. She always did things with me. She was just, a really, really cool woman. And my sister for a few years was good about, being someone that didn't hurt me. So I really shouldn't say that I didn't grow up with any love. I did have a little bit, but it was very short-lived. And it wasn't enough to make up for the other areas that I lacked love. And through that, food became my drug. And as I got older, I think I made it to 11 or 12 with a relatively normal weight. I was probably 140 pounds maybe by the time I was 11, but I was 5'6". So I wasn't, big or anything, because even at 140 pounds now, I'm a size 5, maybe a 4. But, I wasn't a big girl at all by any means. But then as time went on, I started gaining weight. And then the drug addiction started. I got addicted to cocaine by the time I was 16. Crack cocaine more specifically. I was on crack for 14 years, I believe, or 12 years or something like that. It was a long time. Okay. So, anyway, whereas I had to pause the video for a second because one of my dogs was whining to get in, so pause the video for a minute there. Okay, I was talking about drug addiction. Unless you're a drug addict and you've been through this, you really don't know what it's like. But you don't not, and I'm not saying it's like this for everybody, but for me, I would get to the point where I had had enough, and I needed to stop. It was becoming too much, so I would stop, and and when you do things like cocaine or crack or whatever, you're up 24 hours a day for weeks, for months, for however long it is your particular session of drug abuse at that time is. And I think I probably went 6 months at the longest, and then I would just get tired, so I would pretty much lock myself inside, not come out, and all I would do was sleep and eat, which contributed to weight gain, because of course you're gonna eat what's the cheapest you can find, which is junk food or McDonald's or whatever. I spent a lot of years eating McDonald's. And with you get up, you eat, you go to sleep, you get up, you eat, you go to sleep, get up, eat, go to sleep. It's just this never-ending cycle. And weight just piles on because you're not doing anything. You're not moving anywhere. You're just, sleeping all day and all night. And when you're not asleep, you're eating. And to a 16, 17-year-old, they want junk food. And that's, McDonald's was convenient. It was literally, a block from where I lived. So, of course, I went to McDonald's. And then there were the times where I would order Chinese food. And I've actually, at one point, a couple of years before the drug abuse ended, about 4 years before, I had a Chinese restaurant in South Carolina that not only would they bring me food, but they would stop by a convenience store and get me cigarettes, because I used to smoke. And they would bring me anything I wanted to drink. So, I didn't have to leave my room. I was living in a hotel. I didn't have to leave the room ever. And, people thought I was dead or I was in jail, or then I'd surface, 6 weeks later feeling great because I'd been off of drugs and I had gotten all this sleep. And then next thing you know, the cycle starts back over again. And that was pretty much the part of it. I'm sorry I'm moving this camera around so much. It's kind of hard to get comfortable with dogs moving around in the bed, and I don't really have anything to hold up my phone, so I'm kind of having to do it myself. But anyway, as the years wore on, when I found out I was pregnant with my son, that was ultimately what stopped me from using the drugs. It's been 15 years. So it was, finding out I'm pregnant, I was like, okay, well, the drug abuse has to stop because now I've got a baby to take care of, and I am not going to bring a baby into the world that's addicted to cocaine, crack, anything. I didn't even smoke cigarettes the whole pregnancy. Maybe a pack. But that was much later in my pregnancy. But, I pretty much kept it clean for my son's sake. And then, of course, afterwards, because I had decided to keep him, I couldn't continue to do drugs because he would have starved to death. He never had diapers. He wouldn't have had clean clothes. He wouldn't have had a roof over his head, and that's no life for a baby. So that was what ended the drug abuse. And I'm getting off track again. And I was lonely. I was a single mother. I had never had a baby in my care 24/7, and it was very difficult. I was living with my mother, which was stressful in itself because things always had to be her way or no way. And so it was very stressful living with my mom. And I lived rent free. So, I didn't really need to spend money on bills or anything. I had a phone in my name and a computer and things like that. So that was a little bit of an expense. But when you're making Oh gosh, I was pulling in $900 every 2 weeks as a CNA. So, I mean, when you have $1,800 a month to your name and you're not having to spend that on anything but diapers and baby formula, things like that, that doesn't cost that much. Not for one baby. So, I had a lot of money at my disposal. And so, of course, I would hang out with my friends and we would eat junk food on the weekends. And, well, not just on the week. We would eat junk food all week, things that were not good. Growing up in the South, you eat some of the most unhealthy food known to man. But I just discovered this world of, food. I'm not going to go to jail for eating. Nobody's going to pull me over and arrest me for EUI, eating, driving, or not EUI, but DUE or DWE, driving while eating. I mean, that's not even an offense. So, it was fantastic because I could go to any place I wanted and eat all I wanted. And weight just kept piling on and on and on and on and on. And it just became my way to cope with things. And I'm a good cook. I've heard somewhere that it's bad manners to say that you're a good cook, but I'm a good cook. I know how to cook very well. And at that time, the whole concept of healthy food and exercise was like not part of my vocabulary. And I never had a boyfriend that made it obvious that, I needed to lose weight to get a man. I mean, I had attractive boyfriends, in shape guys. So it's not like I thought, well, I'm so unattractive, I can't get an attractive guy. So, I mean, what's the big deal? So food just more or less became my way to cope with the negative emotions. And it just, things happened. And then, food is a very hard addiction to break. I'm struggling with it now. It wasn't until I got the lap band, and my ex that was responsible for helping me decide to get a lap band. He knew a little bit about healthy food. My favorite things were Chinese buffets. I could go to a Chinese buffet, and at that time, I could have out-eaten the biggest man in the room. It was nothing for me to go in there and eat 5 or 6 plates of food. But I didn't know anything about calories and numbers and, all that stuff. I knew nothing about that. I didn't know that when you go to Outback Steakhouse and you get like the blooming onion, I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of calories in that thing. And I didn't know anything about that. I knew fruit was good for you and I knew vegetables were good for you, but junk food just tastes so much better. And I loved to eat at that time. So, it was a lifetime of bad habits. And it took a lot to get me to the point that I'm at now. Soda was a big thing in my house. Whole milk. It was my money. I was making it, so I was going to buy whatever I wanted to eat. And that's what I did. It's amazing that my son isn't an obese child because he started out life with me. But, thankfully he's not. He doesn't have the problems that I do. He's maybe 20 pounds overweight, which is not, a major concern for me. I think as he gets older, he's developing really good habits. Between me and my husband, he's getting good habits. And he likes healthy food. So, it's just, a lifetime of, at some points in my life, I was just lazy. I had no desire to do anything. And then, by the time guys started coming around that were actually starting to make it clear to me that, they would find me more attractive thin, I would try to lose weight. But these guys were also abusive. So, here you've got this guy telling you lose weight or I'm going to leave. But then, he gets an attitude when you're actually trying to work out. In one case particular, this guy yelled at me for working out in the living room. And I'm thinking, well, you either want me to work out or you don't. I don't have a gym membership. This is it. It really had never even crossed my mind to get into a gym. That came later, a few years later. That came probably about 4 years after this particular guy that I'm talking about, was when I started going into gyms. And it it amazes me that even now, I still don't seem to have control over portion size. As far as control over eating, I can't eat junk food. Yesterday is good example. I have not made fried chicken wings in at least 10 years. I mean, it's been a long time. 10 or 11 years now it's been. And I made fried chicken wings yesterday. And that's part of why I got sick. I can't eat junk food now. I can't, well, I shouldn't say all junk food because there is some junk food I can eat. I just choose not to eat it in an excessive amount. I mean, I went through a phase where I loved Reese's peanut butter cups, and I must have bought huge bags of those every couple of days. And I would eat the entire bag in a day or two. You know, that's a lot of junk food. So, you know, food became my coping mechanism. It tastes good. It's the fattening stuff, the unhealthy stuff is the stuff that tastes the best. And it's what I had. Not to mention, you know, a lot of people know that I smoke marijuana. And of course, with marijuana, not so much anymore because I know there's differences in marijuana. There's different types. And there's actually marijuana that does not give me, you know, hunger, munchies, whatever you want to call it. But I spent a lot of time with people who would go out and buy a shitload of junk food. And they would have this enormous amount of weed, and we'd smoke, and we'd eat nothing but junk food all day and all night. So, you know, that contributed to it too. Having the munchies, things like that. I can honestly say, I think in a 2-day period, I ate probably $500 or $600 worth of food, junk food, with a guy that I went out with one night. I shouldn't say one night. We spent a couple days together, and excuse me. We ended up eating quite a bit of junk food. So that's kind of, you know, things like that. That's it's just a lifetime of bad habits. Now, as far as now, why I'm not losing weight, I don't know. I maybe I'm still eating too much and I don't realize it. I've heard that I don't eat enough. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time losing weight. Because honestly, if I was to show you what's in my fridge and my freezer and my cabinets, there's not really any junk food in there. I mean, there's a bag of chocolate animal crackers, but I eat maybe 16 to 30 of them once a week. You know, that's not a lot. I have Italian ice in there. I have a sweet craving, but I've eaten one. I've had them for 2 or 3 days now, and I've eaten one. You know, and that was just an hour ago. Well, a couple hours ago. But I mostly eat fish and chicken, not fried. The fried chicken wings was a very rare thing. So I'm much more picky now about what I eat, but food is still a struggle for me. It is. If I drink soda, it's ginger ale. Like, my stomach's been upset for the past couple of days, and ginger ale was always something that my mom gave me when I got sick, and it does help settle my stomach. So I have been drinking ginger ale today, but I mostly drink water. I do have a weakness for iced tea, sweet iced tea with sugar, not sweet and low. It's one of those things that I just cannot seem to give up. I'm sure that it's something that I am doing. I'm just not aware of what it is. And there are certainly, with the physical problems that I have, with me trying to find a doctor who will work with the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America. I've been in touch with them, and I could get help through them if I can just find a doctor who will work with them. And I'm still waiting to hear from a doctor. I've probably talked to 5 or 6 of them so far, and I'm just, one of them said it could take up to 2 weeks. So I don't know what anybody's going to say. I don't know if anybody's even looked at their website. I don't know. But I send emails every couple of days to these doctors, hey, have you had a chance to look at the website? What are your thoughts? Is this something you would be willing to do? I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and trying to have faith that one of those doctors are going to say, yeah, I'll do it. Come on and let's start the process. I'm very hopeful, and I am choosing to believe that yes, it's going to happen. I just don't know when, and I don't know who is going to be the surgeon to say yes. At any rate, but I struggle even now. There's with everything that's been going on since we moved to Livingston, I stay in the house a lot. I don't go out a lot. There's not a lot to do here, and it's just so hot outside. And for some reason, heat is not good for me. If I get too hot, I tend to get sick. So not vomiting, but I get very nauseated, and it takes days for me to feel better. So I don't go out in the heat a lot. But it's lack of exercise. It's when I have a stressful week, when I'm stressed, I'm still in that I'm stressed, so I'm going to eat. I am a stress eater. I'm not a cereal snacker. And when I say cereal, I don't mean like cereal like Cheerio cereal. I mean cereal as in like serial killer. I'm not a cereal eater. Or I am a cereal eater. I'm not one of these people who grazes all day. It's not like that. And, it gets to the point where I get so upset with things that I probably do eat an excessive amount. And I'm not really realizing it until I see the amount of dishes in the sink, or when I actually take time to stop and look and see what I've got on that plate. It's just, it's crazy to me. And the only time that I seem to get it right is when my husband makes my plate. And at 39 years old, that's very sad for me. So, for me, it's a lot of negative emotions, a lot of depression. I am an emotional eater. So I eat due to negative emotions, and I know it's not right to do. I know it's not something I should do. And for a while there, when I was in school, I was eating a lot of McDonald's because I had to get to school. I was rushing. I had $5 to my name. Go to McDonald's, go through the drive-thru, get the dollar menu stuff. It's totally things that I've done to myself. I do think because the months and months and months I spend in the gym and I spend eating healthy and I only drop 20 or 30 pounds, that is something else. There is something physically going on, but I'm sure I don't help. So it's, a lot of us will have the same reason as to why we became overweight, because it's an emotional eating thing. But like I said, as far as pinpointing how that started, I don't know. I don't know when that was, what point that was in my life where I decided, eating is the way to go. It just happened. And it is by far the hardest addiction I have ever had to break. If you're watching this and you're a drug addict on top of being a food addict, then it's a lot harder to give up food than it is drugs. Drugs are illegal. You will go to jail. You can go to prison. You do crazy things for drugs. Food, where the reason I say that food is a harder addiction to break is you have to eat. You can't go through life. You cannot survive life if you don't eat. You have to eat to live. And that's, unfortunately, so many of us have the same story. At one point, I lived to eat, not eat to live. And I'm trying to reverse that. And I don't seem to be having a lot of success with that. I have my days where it's better. Today I haven't eaten a whole lot because my stomach has still been upset, and I tried to eat earlier when I came home from church. I tried to eat, and my stomach started getting upset. So I put most of the food back in the fridge and let my husband finish it. I think I had 4 of the fried chicken wings today because we had quite a few left over. I had 4 of them. So that's basically it, folks. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know if people watch these and think I just ramble or whatever, but that's, what it is. And I also realized in my last video I didn't give my catchphrase that I like to say But if you got any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section below or message me on Facebook or whatever. I hope everybody has a good week. I'm going to see a doctor Saturday for the physical issues, and then I'm going to see another doctor next week. So hopefully I'll find out maybe what's going on up here and, with the physical stuff to get an answer as to actually what's wrong with me, because I do have something going on. But that's basically it. That's my story as far as how I became overweight. And want any more specifics, like I said, leave me a message, contact me on Facebook. My phone number is on my Facebook profile, I believe. If you want to call me, give me a call sometime. I'll keep everybody updated on how the whole weight loss surgery is progressing. If I'm there, whatever, I think this is it. It's going to happen. I just don't know when, and I don't know what surgeon. My last video, I did ask for help if people would actually call the doctor that I would like to have the surgery with, and I don't know if anybody's done that. Nobody has said anything to me, so. But that's it, folks. I am going to go to bed because I got a full day tomorrow, and this week's going to be kind of full. So just remember, sometimes you have to fight the same battle more than once to win it. So everybody have a good night. Bye, guys.